But the first language of a child is play. So if we can teach them how to play healthy, then they learn to cope healthy.
Welcome to Trial to Triumph, hosted by Caleb Johnson, the show about leaning into life's constant testing on your way to realizing your biggest blessings.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Caleb Johnson, host of From Trial to Triumph. This is the show where we talk to guests who have gone through tremendous trials and have come out triumphantly. And on this show, you might hear stories that might not pertain to you exactly if we talk about real estate or business or nonprofits, whatever that is. If you don't have experience in those, that is okay, because there are still life lessons that you can pull out of them regardless of your age, your experience, or the like. So we'll just jump right into today's show. I'm really excited to have our guest on today, and I say that every day and every show, but I've known Lorraine for a couple of years now, actually, maybe 2 or 3 years now, which, wow, time flies. So Lorraine Tallman, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Caleb. I'm honored to be here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you here. And so you started a nonprofit called Amanda Hope, and can you just tell our listeners really quick, before we get into your story, just what Amanda Hope does?
So Amanda Hope is a nonprofit that fills in the gap of care for medically fragile children, whether it's cancer, dialysis, transplant kiddos, heart kiddos. And so we are the kind of like the advocate in between. So we help with the dignity and modesty through an incredible apparel line that my daughter designed called Comfy Cozies for Chemo. We provide peer-to-peer coaching for moms and dads. We do a lot of financial aid, fighting rare diseases. Insurance is not the best in covering costs with that. So we're able to be right by our family's sides, helping them navigate through the mirage of bills and usually half the income because mom or dad has to leave work. And then we have this amazing counseling center. So we do play therapy and mindfulness and different modalities, from massage to relaxation. And then for our very fragile families, we actually have a counseling play bus that will go and visit our families at their homes so they don't have to make another appointment. So, those were all the gaps in care that my family recognized when, we were that family. So our incredible center really covers the foundation of, your mind, body, spirit, heartache, soul, and then we just come along their side for all the other. I mean, they're devastating when you can't pay a bill, but we're there to make it easy and not, people get embarrassed about things like that. And until you've actually been through a situation with a medically fragile child, you have no idea of the onslaught that comes your way. But we have other moms who've been there, done that. And, we help the new families get through it with as much comfort as possible.
Yeah. Well, thank you for what you do for the community. I know you change lives on a daily basis, and I can't imagine to feel the toll that has on your heart. I know God helps you through that a lot. And can you just tell our listeners what the reason is that you first started Amanda Hope?
So Amanda Hope is actually my daughter. That is her name. And we were one of the families that, got that terrible phone call when Amanda was 9 that she had leukemia. And then we discovered that she would be in the hospital for the next 3 years receiving treatment. Pediatric cancer is so much different than adult cancer because their molecular structure is growing, which means cancer grows, and you're constantly fighting it. And so children are in treatment way longer than adults would be. And unfortunately, childhood cancer is the number one disease that kills children in America. but it's also the least funded. And so the the drugs that we're using actually have been developed in 1950, 1960, and not much has been done for specifically children in decades. So the treatment's very brutal. And so you're not just fighting cancer, you're also fighting the side effects of the drugs that they're giving you. So even though you are receiving chemo and radiation and some very hard drugs, the carcinogens in those drugs actually cause, your 8-year-old or your 10, to have a heart attack, to have their liver not work, to have their kidney not work, to lose their hearing, to lose part of their vision. Those are just the side effects of the drugs that we have to give our children fighting cancer. So you're not just fighting cancer, you're also fighting all the side effects that come along with it. And that's the devastating. You're like, okay, when does my child get a break? And with the toxins we're putting in their little bodies, they don't get a break. They will have health issues for the rest of their lives. And that's something that we learned going through it with our daughter. And it became a reality when we thought we were done with the cancer treatments after 3 years. And after being cancer-free for 3 months, Amanda had a bad headache, and we found out that one of the drugs they gave her actually caused a brain tumor, and we had to fight cancer the second time. So it became all very real to us. But Amanda on the second time was 12, and so she was a veteran. I would call her a veteran. And she had levels of care that she absolutely, and I mean demanded. You had to know her name. You couldn't just walk in the room and look at her body and not know her name. She hated her body being exposed, lifted up in a chemo room where, I don't know how many of your listeners have been in a chemo room, but everybody's lined up and there's a lot of strangers that can actually see you. And so she hated that. And that's where her dream of the comfy cozy, the secret peekaboo compartments came in. And we're so grateful that we get to give those free, actually globally now. So in 10 years, we've been able to accomplish that. But, when she was 12 fighting cancer, it was a lot harder because she had full knowledge of what was happening. And she knew what drugs and what the side effects were going to get. So she would have, it's like post-stress disorder. She knew this drug was going to make her do X, Y, or Z, or she'd be at this level pain. So fighting it the second time for our kiddos is painful on every level. And it's also painful for the family. Her sisters, to watch her do this again was so depressing. My husband actually got ulcers from watching, all the things that you go through as a family, and which was an ongoing issue. And then we went through 9 months of chemotherapy and radiation. Our oldest daughter, Leah, was a perfect match for a transplant. And so we had new hope, and we went in for the transplant. And when they were doing the surgery to add the extra lines, she needed a port and Broviac because you have like 20 to 30 lines coming in and out of your body during a transplant. And when they went in to do the surgery, they discovered a drug that they had given her. It was a trial from Seattle, actually mutated her cancer cells. So we went from 0.05% cancer to 83% cancer throughout her whole body. And they came out of the surgery telling me that we only had 2 weeks left to be with our daughter. So we had to wrap our head around that. And then we started doing the most best days. What could we do to give Amanda whatever days she had left to be the most best days? And she actually wanted to go to the Vatican. And my sister did a big fundraiser for us, and within 72 hours raised enough money for Amanda and I to go to the Vatican. And she was able to go to the Vatican, and she wanted to go on a gondola ride in Venice, so we were able to do that. And there were several other things she wanted to do. She wanted to see sea turtles, and she wanted to see a baby panda bear at San Diego Zoo. So she ended up living for 3.5 months, and we were able to do everything on her bucket list that she wanted, including the comfy cozies for chemo. So while the day she passed away, she asked me to, well, it was during that week, she asked me to make me promise that I would help every child fighting cancer. She was like, not everyone has a mama like you, Mom. Make sure you're there to help. Because she had seen so much in 4 years in the hospital. So, she had an old soul. And she knew she was going to heaven. She knew what she wanted me to do. And she made me promise. And so that's where the whole foundation came about, was my promise to my daughter during her last days, to which, we're 10 years old now, and we've kept every promise that I made. And we have a full on center now between integrative health and mental health and mindfulness, and social workers with financial aid. So it's taken me 10 years to create this amazing healing space for our families, but it's a dream come true, and our 10 years will be this Christmas. So, but I will say that the mental health is really where my heart is, because even to this day, I mean, I've had counseling and different things, but when I hear an ambulance go whizzing by, I'm grabbing that steering wheel. I remember the time, I was in the ambulance, or, certain sounds and smells, alcohol, certain smells can still trigger me to a memory that's very difficult. And then my husband, Marty, who helped me found the charity, the ulcers ended up turning into stomach cancer. And then I lost my husband in 9 months. So it just became very clear to me that, God had given me this impactful platform to really shed the light on mental health, and how you just can't say, put your big girl pants on. You can't just keep shoving it down somewhere, because your body will hold that sorrow or that pain. And, you wonder, people go, my shoulder always hurts, or I always have a headache, or my stomach hurts, or why do people have heart attacks? Because they're unresolved sorrow or unforgiveness or whatever it is. Your body will only hold it so long, and then that toxic will actually go to the weakest point of your body and create harm. Why is heart disease one of the number one killing people of, our senior citizens? It's, well, basically because you've got years of holding things in instead of getting them resolved. And so I know for a fact, if my husband and I could have afforded to get the therapy, we had the insurance that could have done it, when we were fighting, he would still be here today. But on the other hand, this life is so temporal, it really is a blink of an eye. And I'm called to help people. And because of my life experience, I have opened doors for me to be an educator, for me to be a mom mentor, for me to work with doctors to teach them how to have, the proper body language and how to deliver bad news to families. And so, I know there will be a day when I get reunited with my husband and my daughter, as I will be reunited with literally thousands of other children that have lost their battle to cancer. But they're all together, in heaven rooting me on. And I have quite the force. And people have told me that. They've walked into the center and go, wow, can you feel the presence here? And I'm like, oh yeah, my daughter's doing the happy dance. This is everything she wanted. So as difficult and as painful, and here it is 10 years later, things will come to me and I will still cry and grieve and feel the pain, but I feel it's very healthy. I feel every tear I cry is actually healing power for whatever it is that comes into my pathway. I'm available and I know it, and I can be that comfort. So it's as painful as it was, and losing everything. It's also beauty from ashes.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us. And um, wow, that's God bless God bless you, Lorraine. Um, and I had one question that might be a hard question, but the reason I want to ask it is because I think there might be a learning opportunity through that. And what, and the question would be, what did that ultimately do with Amanda having cancer, and then uh, and then your husband as well? What did that, and it sounds like you have other daughters, and Amanda had some sisters. What did that do to your family? And the reason that I asked that question is because just if that strengthened you, and if there's ultimately, of course, Amanda Hope the Foundation was born through that tragedy, and you've helped some
Hmm.
amazing lives because of that. Can you answer that question? Just what's really been the most impactful thing for your family now, looking back at it?
At the time it was devastating, and for her sisters as well, as you can imagine, um, losing two intimate family members to cancer, right? I mean, you would think that would never happen. Um, but they're still, all of us, my daughters, we're still working through the grief, and but I think the core lesson that I've learned is it's important not to let tragedies of this life take me down, and that I really have to look at it sometimes just broadly, good against evil. And there are evil forces that and diseases and things that are here, and nobody's immune to them. I think too many people watch Marvel, you know you got the super shield and the all of that. um God is here to give you peace and comfort during the journey, but there is no super pill you're going to take to avoid pain in this world. And everybody has a story. This is my story. I'm sure you have your story. Everyone I meet has a story. But it's about us coming together and lifting each other up, and not judging, but actually picking people up. And so that's the one thing that I learned, is that, everyone gets knocked down. Everyone has terrible things happen to them. And so, and horrific things happen to them. But it's about us getting back up. Forgiveness is a big problem, big issue. Um, just, um, and even forgiving the circumstance, and just knowing that through the path, that you can truly make something amazing out of it. Nothing goes to waste unless you allow it. You can allow it to take you down and to do drugs and drink a lot of alcohol, and you can allow that, which I can say in the beginning days I certainly had my fair share of wine. um, um, but I also knew that I couldn't stay there. I could not stay there. I made a promise to my daughter, and I still had two beautiful daughters that needed their mama. So I couldn't allow what happened to us to take me down, which would have had a rippling effect. My daughters would have never survived it had I not been strong enough to help them through it. And then, we've literally helped thousands of children. And if I would have not if I would have let it take me down, it really got me angry is what people go, oh, you're so gracious. No, I was really angry. I was angry at the gaps in care. I was angry that as America, we didn't do better for research for children. So it was actually my anger that got me out of bed going, I am going to fix this, right? And so um, it wasn't me being all gracious and godly in the beginning. It was like, all right, I'm going to fix this. Clearly, this is going on, and clearly, I'm the one that is going to fix this problem. Now, I still haven't found the cure to cancer, but I will help people get through their journey.
Yeah, praise God. So that anger was a big motivating factor for you, especially in the beginning. And I think sometimes that's necessary for people to go through. But there's phases in grieving, and you know more about that than I do. But when did that anger subside, or is that anger still a big part of your motivation to cure cancer?
So I don't think the anger subsides, but you learn to channel it. So when I go to Washington and I'm advocating about more dollars for research, or when I'm speaking to a large corporation, or if I'm presenting at an oncology conference, I'm really able to bring real life stories and daily stories, not stories that, yes, I can share what happened to me 14 years ago, but I literally can give a story every day about a new family. I mean, we get between 100 and 120 new cancer patients every month. So the real life stories and the real life impact. I mean, I can go to speak with any congressman at any given day and just read my email in the last 2 days. So it's still anger, but it's very directed, and it's very deliberate. And, we should be doing better. I mean, we're America. We put people on the moon. We should be able to um, spend a little more money than 3.8% of research dollars on children. I mean, children are the future. So it's important for me to tap into my anger, but we'll just call it a righteous anger. A little more direct. There's times where you want to be David, and just wipe out a whole community. Like, you people need to get your act together and find the cure, right? And you're do this or else. But you can't you don't have that kind of King David power. So, but I do have an influence, and when people meet with me, I do change their lives because I bring some real life into data, a statistic, thing that they're reading. So sometimes you need those real life experiences to move the needle versus them just getting, the National Cancer Institute, the NCI, just throwing data their way, which is not even accurate because we don't keep proper data on children. So, and that's the other problem, funding pediatric cancer or rare childhood diseases. We don't keep as accurate records as we do as adults. So getting that extra funding can be difficult.
Lorraine, I'd like to talk a little bit about the mental health because I think everybody has, like you said, a story or some kind of we all have our bad days and we all need some help on the mental health side of things, I think. So what are some tools or strategies that you share with people that come into your facility or maybe even parents, or what can you talk a little bit about that?
So right in the beginning when we're doing intake, we're trying to teach them coping skills like right away. So whether it's, doing deep breathing, being very conscious of your heart rate, people that are the little ones that are anxious, we teach them how to do the 3-finger tap, on their sternum here, just to regulate heartbeat. The swaying motion, for little ones, when you're in the womb, you're used to a certain heartbeat and swaying. That can be very calming for children if you can just get them in that swaying and getting them to breathe and calm them down. We do breathing games. You can blow cotton balls across the dining room table, or food coloring on a piece of paper, painting rocks. I mean, anything that we can teach our parents to just immediately calm is something that we work on in our playroom all the time. And, even blowing bubbles. You want to take those deep breaths. So blowing bubbles can actually calm a child down. So, we work on all of those very basic calming tools. And then, as the therapy progresses, then we can work with maybe a sand tray and have children tell a story. And then the therapist can work on who the hero in the story is and how we can not be afraid and to move past that. Or maybe it's through puppets. Children will talk through a puppet. So they can say, Georgie has, how's Georgie today? Georgie has a stomach ache and da da da, and he was afraid, and the kid at school, and blah, blah. And then we can come over with another puppet. Well, let's see what we can teach, Georgie how to, when his tummy hurts, what are things that we can teach Georgie how to do? And then when the child does go back to school, we can say, well, remember what you taught Georgie how to do. So, keep that in mind. So we're actually teaching children how to cope through anxiety and pain through puppets, through sand tray, through art. But the first language of a child is play. So if we can teach them how to play healthy, then they learn to cope healthy. And even teaching them feeling words. You know how many children have they know happy, sad. Those are all the words that they know. So we actually teach them a lot of feeling words, because there's a big difference. And so as we're teaching children feeling words, then they're able to express themselves better. And then they don't get, most times children get so frustrated because they feel like they're not being heard or understood, or they're being hurt. So if we can teach them how to share the feeling in their stomach through words, like coaching, just like any sport, you're constantly coached and taught until it just becomes a part of you. We're doing the same thing. We're coaching our kiddos, how to express themselves. And it's very important when they're fighting a disease, because if they're in pain, we need to know about it. We don't want them hiding it until they're at level 10, and then we're all running around with our head cut off trying to manage something that's going to take hours to manage, where if they had a way of sharing what was happening to them in the earlier stages. So there's lots of different practical ways that we work with kiddos to do it. But we've also learned that if we can teach children at a very young age these coping skills, as they grow into adults, they have far less issues in communicating. They have far less, why do people have strokes? Because they're always tense. They don't know how to share. They get upset. They storm out of a room. They can't have a conversation. And that hurts their body, physically hurts their body. Well, what if they learned as a child how to be able to share what they were feeling in a safe place? They would never get to that level of anxiety, and they would probably never have that heart attack. But they were never taught that as a child, They were taught, put your big boy pants on, be quiet. Big boy, boys don't cry. What's wrong? We have to really get away from that.
Right. And I think that was going to be my next question, actually, was how do people that were younger that go into the program and then come out, they survive, and then those skills that you taught them transferred over to when they were older. And you hit that. Wow, that was it's like you read my mind. That's interesting.
Well, we're even seeing our teens that have been in our care and now they're in high school. They're they're really flourishing. They're doing so well. And, we have them going into college now and they're thriving. And, well, they understand, well, first of all, they have a greater appreciation of life, but second, they know how to share what's happening and they're able to express themselves in a very healthy way. When you see a teen or a young adult just screaming out vulgarity and, they have absolutely no understanding of the English language and how to share what they're doing, but they rather just, shoot out, just swear, 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 swear. I'm going to show you an adult that did not learn how to communicate in a healthy way. So vulgarity is the only thing, that they do. Same thing with, why was cutting such a big deal for many years, right? People were because the cutting was actually more painful than the feeling that they felt in their heart. So, okay, there's a sign. There's something going on here. How are we going to find out what is hurting your child versus saying, "Don't do that anymore. What's wrong with you?" Well, there's a lot wrong with me. I'm cutting myself. But you can't say that as a child. I mean, you don't know that. But I think if people would just learn to say, "I remember when I felt like that," because trust me, we've all had feelings that are set. So I think that if we would just be honest and say, "Oh, I remember when I was scared," or "I remember one time." It doesn't have to be the exact thing that they were scared of or that exact feeling, but you can say, "I remember when I was feeling really sad." Just identifying with feelings um, really opens the door for someone to share.
What are some other ways that you think people, because, and the reason I'm asking this question is because I think we all know somebody that's hurting. And if they haven't said that they're hurting, but we still know that they're hurting and they just haven't said that, it might not be something as extreme as cutting, but it might be something else. So, how do you recommend that we can help those people that we know are hurting?
For one, you have to build a little bit of a trust there. So you might want to take that person out for coffee or for lunch or a walk in the park, take them to a movie, where you're able to have a conversation versus just a quick text, um, until you actually build a relationship with that person. Should you be sending them a text, "I'm just checking up on you"? In the beginning, you should not. You should be going, "Hey, I have Saturday at 11, and do you want to go to the park? Do you want to go to a movie? Do you want to have coffee? I'm going for a hike." Anything outdoors is wonderful if you can get someone to do something. I mean, they've even shown that walking on a beach or walking on grass, that it's so healing. The energy coming up is just very healing. And that's just a God-given gift. We have it. Go for a walk on the grass. It's free. And, go swing on a swing, oh, go for a picnic. There's just things we've, that's the worst thing that happened about COVID is we've lost this connection. And without connection, you don't have empathy. Without empathy, you don't have cures or compassion. So, you have a lot of young adults saying right now, "Well, I just don't care," which means they don't have to do the right thing. That's their, okay, well, they don't care because they have no connection. So we need to back it up and make some connection. Because I find that if you spend time with someone, then, God can open the door to find out what's really going on. And trust me, there is not a soul walking this planet right now that isn't dealing with something that has hurt them in the last few years. COVID, um, I know that historians from, a decade from now are going to go, "Wow, did we blow that one?" Like, our kids need each other and our parents, and Especially our children fighting, in the hospital. You imagine you're a mom, you have to be in the hospital with your child fighting for their life, but you still have little ones at home that are by themselves and on a laptop trying to figure out school on their own. There's just a lot of issues that we're going to be dealing with for years to come. Our speech therapists backed up. I mean, these little ones learning how to talk through a mask. They can't their English language, the way they articulate words. They're struggling. So even, there's lots of side effects of what we've been going through. And so and I don't have the answers, and we're all going to be discovering the answers as we move forward, but mental health is a big issue. And unless we can take the stigma away from getting help, I think more people could really, why is the suicide rate as high as it is right now? No connection. So we really, as a person, our responsibility for the people, the circle of people in our life is connect. You can't, I'm very busy as as a mom, a grandma. I run a foundation. I'm a speaker. But there are people in my life that I literally make a point of reaching out to all the time to make sure they know that I'm here. And if I have to put that in my calendar, then that's what I do, especially during September when it's National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Especially in September. But that's how I manage my time. I literally make appointments with my friends to see them, to have coffee, to go for a hike, to do things. Or you have to. But we live in such a busy life right now. Just liking someone's picture on Facebook is not connecting, or liking their Instagram or whatever. It's not a connection.
I think you're so right, and I think that speaks to so many people, and yeah, that's such a good learning opportunity right there. Is just if you need to actually block it in your calendar, then that's what you need to do, because we all have, we're all busy. Some people are busier than others, or some people we would like to think that we're busier than others. But people is what really matters. It's not the money, it's not the cars, it's not whatever. It's the people, because that's all you can take with you. And when you're 80 years old, or even at your funeral, you don't want somebody saying, "Hey, where's a potato salad?" Right? You want people, and I know this will be the case with you, that you have impacted thousands of people, and that there will be tears. I mean, ultimately, you'll be in heaven, so it'll be a celebration of life, right? But yeah, it's just so important about connecting with people and helping others. And Lorraine, if someone's listening to this and they are one of those people that they do need help, they are depressed, what would you say to those people to kind of help them with their journey?
Make that call. There's so many helplines out there because this has really been a national crisis. Make the call. Do not wait, because the person that answers that phone 99% of the time is exactly where you are today. They understand. The lifelines, the teen lines, Amanda Hope, most of my therapists, we've lost children. We've had a child with cancer, or like the people connected with Amanda Hope have a story. They understand. All of these other helplines, they understand, and so you're not alone. Everyone, the helping hand up. Everyone has a story. Everyone has fought the very same heartache that you are. Different person, different circumstances, but the heartache, which is where you're getting the depression and the pain from, I really don't know too many people that have not been through this life without some sort of heartache. So the help is genuine and it's real. And there's nothing better than having someone by your side to be healthy. And then you get to play it forward. Then you get to be the one that answers the phone. And it doesn't even have to be for an organization. You will be so surprised who God puts in the circle of your life that you get to help because of your life experience. Whether it was from when you were a child or a teenager or you're an adult now, your experience is an avenue, a pathway for helping someone at some point. That person will come into your life. I guarantee it.
That's amazing. And Lorraine, today's gone by so fast. So I want to ask you one quick question for maybe someone that feels like it's been put on their heart to maybe start a nonprofit or maybe just help in whatever way. But what would you recommend to people that do want to start a nonprofit? I don't even know where to begin. So what would you recommend to them?
So, a lot of nonprofits that I've mentored, the number one thing is why? Why do you want to start a nonprofit? What is your why? Is there another nonprofit that's doing what you want to do? Is this someone you can partner with? I collaborate with a number of charities that help families, and we all collaborate and work together. But your why has to speak volumes. It has to move a mountain because everybody wants to start a nonprofit. I'm just going to start a nonprofit. But if you don't have the why, you will fail. People are not going to believe in your dream if you don't have a why. And it has to be real and authentic. And then we can work on your strategic plan. Okay, now here's the why. What are the needs? And why are they a need? No one else is doing them? Why is it a need? You need to not only have your why while you're starting that nonprofit, you need to know why the need you're filling is necessary for you to do it. Then you go into how do we deliver that? What does that look like? Delivering the need. How do we deliver that need? Who do we deliver it to? What is the parameters? You have to become mission focused because people are going to pull you to the left, to the right. It's easy to pull someone down. It's much harder to pull people up. So you have to be solid in your mission and do not let anyone take you off that path. I'm doing A, B, C, and nothing else. Why nothing else? Because there's probably someone doing E, F, and G. You can collaborate with the EFGs. You really need to be strong and direct in your mission. Because if you don't, and you let people pull you aside, you will not make that 5-year mark. You will fail, and you will wish you had done it another way. So really just pray on it and be direct when you're deciding that 501. And so when you come and meet with me and I go, hey, why? And how are you going to deliver it? You have those answers. Until you have those answers, don't even spend the thousands of dollars you're going to need filing a 501c3. Getting an attorney, filing. I mean, it's 80, 90 pages long. You better know what it's wonderful to have a nonprofit. And I've been fiscal agent. I have helped people to do that because their why was strong enough. And then I invested my time in mentoring that person. But it's a beautiful gift, but you need to know what your gift is.
Yeah, that's very well said. And again, I feel like today just flew by. And so I'll ask you 3 questions, Lorraine, that I ask, excuse me, that I ask every guest. And the first being, if you could recommend to our listeners a book, what would that be?
So there's a wonderful author. His name is Ed Mylett. and it's called The Power of One More. And when you're doing a nonprofit or starting a business, you need the power of one more. What is that one more? Because trust me, there's tens of millions of people out there trying to do what you're doing, but you need that one more to be successful. I highly recommend the book. I've read it like twice already, and I'll probably read it 3 or 4 times because they get those golden nuggets in there, and you're like, oh, I didn't even see that the first time. And so sometimes really good books just need to be read over and over and over again, and highlight the yellow, pink, whatever, purple, just as it's just like the Bible. You read something, you're like, I've never seen that before. Oh my God, what happened to that? When it's time for revelation, it happens. And
Mm-hmm.
so just trust the process.
Oh, that's so good. And so I interviewed somebody yesterday. They said the same exact book, and I just bought that book this morning, and I just started diving into it. And I think it's just so funny that that was your recommendation because I'm a huge fan of Ed's, and yeah, I know he just released that book to maybe
Yeah.
this year. So, and
Yes,
it's
you did. Hmm.
yeah, it's I've heard that from a lot of people. And if people wanted to learn more about you, maybe your organization and just what you do at Amanda Hope, where's the best place for them to do that at?
So amandahope.org is the best place. If you have a company and you have employees that like to do volunteer work, we have this amazing program. It's a team building program where your employees actually help our children. It's a phenomenal program. So My Company Cares is a great way to be involved with us. And if you know anyone fighting cancer, um, send them to us. Or if it's adult, we sell comfy cozies for chemo to adults to help sustain our children. Um, share that apparel because uh, everyone loves it. Patients love it, nurses love it, doctors love it. The fabric's unbelievable, and you're actually not only helping our charity, you're helping another charity in India that makes our comfy cozies, and they rescue sex trade and domestic violence women in India, and they teach the women how to make, with zippers and buttons and snaps. So it's a basic, they learn how to sew, and then they work their way up to make beautiful, saris and beautiful Indian garments. But it's entry level. So, you're actually supporting children all over the world with the comfy cozies. So, um, that's the best way. And then, our social media, we get grant money and things like that. So everybody that likes our Instagram or Facebook page, Amanda Hope or Comfy Cozies, that just helps bring more funding to us when we go to a corporation and ask them to sponsor children. It's $50 to sponsor a child. And so, businesses can spend more than that on happy hours. So I think they can sponsor a child for a comfy cozy, and they get the mindfulness kit, and they get breathing buddies and crafts to teach them mindfulness. So it's not just the apparel that they're getting; they're literally getting the beginning steps of being very helpful at mental health. And because as soon as you hear the word cancer, you're grieving. Grieving starts at the moment you hear that diagnosis. So it's a powerful gift to bring healing through this apparel line, but it opens the door for the conversation about mental health and how we can help a family um, be together, because family-centered care is critical for us.
Mm-hmm. And $50, like you said, is nothing really. So that's good to know that that we can all do that. And Lorraine, the last question that I'll ask you is if you can share one thing with our listeners that they can take away from today's show, what would that be?
Take a deep breath. We have a lot that hits us every day, and before we answer or respond, take a deep breath, because that 2 seconds is enough for your brain to go, "Woo, okay, wait. Oh." And so my number one advice would be take a deep breath. Don't react, respond. It's really important. in today's world where everybody's offended and everybody, just take a deep breath, because trust me, as I tell some of my teens, feelings lie and they change tomorrow. So just take a deep breath, and and everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. Lorraine, thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed speaking to you and learning more about what Amanda Hope does and just more about you and your family. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It was an honor to be here.
Awesome.
And I look forward to your listeners reaching out to us.
Yeah, because I'm going to reach out after this. So everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
It's time to grab your victory. Find us on the web at redseacapitalgroup.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Red Sea Capital Group.